Hello, geometry students. I just wanted to give you some help with this homework. All right, remember that there are two different ways to graph lines. One way is to rewrite in slope-intercept form, and one way is to use a table, a 0-0 table. If equations are written in standard form, then a lot of times it's pretty easy to use a 0-0 table. For example, right here, if we just made our little 0-0 table and tried to solve this mentally, it would be pretty easy. If I plugged in 0 for x, then it's like I cover this part up, okay? Plug in 0 for x, 5y equals 15. That would give me 3, right? Just solve it mentally. And then you can move it over here and say, okay, negative 2x equals 15. Now you might say, wait a minute, I can't do that mentally. Yes, you can. You just do 15 divided by negative 2, which is 7.5, negative 7.5. Now, here's the thing. You can't graph negative 7.5 on the graph as is, because it only goes out 6 spaces. So you got two choices. You can either extend your graph out a little bit, or if you don't like that, then you can rewrite it in slope-intercept form. Since I still have some room over here, I'm just going to extend it out a little bit. Okay, so 0, 3, that's this point right here. And then negative 7.50, if I were to just extend this line, let's see, this would be 6, this would be 7, this would be 8, so it would be right there. And now I just need to get a line that goes between these two. So I'm going to get my little line maker right here, and I'm going to say, okay, make a line. Okay, and then I got to go move that line. Let's see. There we go. Now you'll notice that it says in the instructions, I didn't put it on here, but it says whatever letter it goes through, that's the letter for that, the answer for that code. So this answer is P because it goes through letter P. That's just for the code though. Okay, now this isn't really going to work for number 3, for example, because if you make the little table right here, yeah, you can do it, but this is not going to be an efficient way to graph on this graph. So if you take that little thing, cover it up, plug in 0 for x, negative 6y equals 30, so mental math, that's just negative 5. And then if you move this over here, we have negative x equals 30. Now, if negative x equals positive 30, then positive x would equal negative 30. But as I said, this graph is not going to go out to negative 30, so that's way more unreasonable than this. So in this case, we actually need to do it a different way. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Excuse me. Okay, we're going to rewrite this in slope-intercept form. So to do that, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add x to both sides. Okay, negative 6y equals x plus 30. Then I'm going to divide by negative 6 on both sides so that I get y equals, this is a 1, so 1 divided by 6 is negative 1/6 x minus 5. So now we have an equation that it begins at negative 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it has a slope of negative 1/6, which means down 1, right 6, which also means up 1, left 6. So you can see that this one is going to go through y, but let's just draw it anyway. Okay, so that answer is y. Now, the other time when this table doesn't work is when the x and y are on one side and there's a 0 on the other. Because take a look at what happens when you try to make the table. If you plug in your 0 for x, then negative 3y equals 0. Okay, well, that's great. But then what happens when you plug it over here? You still have 0 because 5 times 0 is 0. So in geometry, you can't have just one point make a line. You have to have 2 points to make a line, and 0, 0 is the same point as 0, 0. Now, we do know that this graph is going to go through 0, 0, but we don't know which direction it's going to go. So this one we have to rewrite in slope-intercept form. So that's what I'm going to do next. The first thing I'm going to do is try to erase this. There we go. So that I have room to work. Okay, I'm going to subtract 5x onto both sides of the equation. Bring down negative 3y equals negative 5x. Then I'm going to divide by negative 3 on both sides because I'm trying to isolate the y. So I've got y equals, now Negative 5 over negative 3, the 5/3 doesn't cancel, but the negative over negative does. So 5/3 x. So it does't have a y-intercept, so it's like the y-intercept is 0, but you don't have to write that. So anyway, 0, just as we expected, it's going to go up 5 over 3. So up 5 over 3, put a dot. That also means you can go down 5, left 3, and put another dot. Okay, so let me make a, no, I want to get my line maker. There we go. Okay, so we make a line through those points, and as you can see, it goes through letter U. So that means this problem, the answer is U. Okay, another time when this won't work, this table won't work, is when you have no x in the problem. I mean, think about it. If you try to make a table and you have a 0, 0, well, 0, you try to plug that in for x, there is no x. So what does that mean? If you plug in a 0 for y, yeah, that's all good and fine. You can plug in the 0 for y. Wait, no, you can't, because negative 4 is equal to nothing. Okay, so how does that work? Well, you have to go back to the fact that this is a special case. This is a special case. It's only got y, so it is a horizontal line. Horizontal lines, the equations of them have only y, no x. So I'm going to take this equation and I'm going to rewrite it. Right now it's y minus 4 equals 0. I'm going to solve for y by adding 4 to both sides. Y equals 4, and this horizontal line is going to go through 4 on the y-axis, and then it's going to be horizontal. So let me graph 4 on the y-axis, and then I'm going to make a horizontal line through that point. Okay, so that's the other time when the table won't work. Does it work every other time? Yeah, pretty much. Okay, other than these special cases. Now this one isn't set up the same. You can use the table, but it's a little bit harder to use. Let's go ahead and try it though. I'm going to start by plugging in 0 for y. If I plug in 0 for y, I get 9x equals 36, which you know is 4. X would be 4, so 4 goes right here. But what happens when I plug in 0 right here? It doesn't also equal 4. And the reason is because it's this right here equals 0. So that one's not quite as easy of a mental math problem to do. So this one you're actually going to have to isolate the y by subtracting 36 onto the other side. So negative 36 is going to equal 9y. Now it's a one-step mental math equation. Divide both sides by 9 and you'd get negative 4. So see how it took a little bit extra to do that? All right, you can still use this to graph though. We have 4, 0, and 0, negative 4. That would be right there. And then we're going to use the line to make this line right here. And it looks like it's going to go through B. All right, so we have this line. Let me fix that a little bit. There we go. Okay, so those are some times when the 0, 0 table doesn't work as well. But you can always rewrite it in slope-intercept form. Okay, so you can subtract, for this one, you can subtract 2x, subtract 1 onto the other side. And then you'll be left with y equals negative 2x minus 1. And that would probably be the easiest way to graph it, with a negative 1 intercept and then a slope of negative 2, meaning negative 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, up 2, back 1, up 2, back 1, up 2, back 1. All right, and you can see that that makes a straight line too. So here we go. And that one goes through M. So anyway, there's the first 6 problems on that side of the worksheet. Hopefully that helped a little bit to show you some different strategies for graphing when the equation isn't in, the nicest form.